What a disaster.
Hold on, here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY. You know what? All right. Do you hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast presented by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. I am here, Bo Wulf, at the NovaCare Complex. Zach Berman is here as well, and he was presented with a difficult choice. At about 1:55, Jalen Hurts wraps up his press conference. Nick Sirianni has not spoken yet. And so the choice for Zach is the show or the coach. The show or the coach. As you can see, I am alone. He chose the coach over the show. We expect to see Zach at some point in a little bit. No promises. Could be a solo bolo show today. And so I'll tell you what we did here at the NovaCare Complex today. First time we have spoken to any of the coaches or players this offseason, aside from Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni during that pre-draft, post-draft situation. We heard from A.J. Brown, we heard from Jordan Mailata, and we heard from Jalen Hurts. A.J. Brown started it off, and it has been an eventful offseason for him. Got married, or engaged, rather. Zach asked him, how he goes about booking John Legend for such a personal appearance. Just reached out. John Legend went to Penn. He's a Philly guy. My favorite thing that A.J. Brown said was when he was asked about the tush push, because we know that tomorrow the owners will be voting on whether to ban the tush push. They've got this new language. Roger Goodell making it very clear that this play is untoward and he can't have it anymore. And A.J. Brown, very nonplussed. Like, he goes, it's only 1 yard, which probably sums up months of NFL conversation better than anybody else could have. So I appreciated that from him. He was asked about not going to the White House. He said it was a personal thing that he had that day. Happened to be a lot of overlapping schedule personal conflicts for about half the Eagles roster, but that's what he said. And of course, he was asked about Kevin Patullo, the new offense. He said he and Kevin Patullo have had a very good relationship since he's come to Philadelphia. We know that Patullo has been here, and he's looking forward to seeing what this offense is going to look like. He said that Kevin Patullo has a very good command of the room when he is talking to the room. And he also said, as much as they would like to think, they're putting in the bones for what this offense is going to look like, they have no idea what it's going to look like until they see how defenses play them. And I think his expectation is that a little bit more is going to go on the passing game this season. And obviously, he embraces that. He said he also was very happy for Nick Sirianni getting that multi-year contract. Very funny that both A.J. Brown and Jordan Mailata were asking the reporters for specifics about the contract that Sirianni got. How long? How much money is he getting paid? Apparently, they are on our side, where we need a little bit more insight into what these coaching contracts are. But he said he texted Nick. He said he's going to be here as long as he's here. So there you go. All the more reason to keep Nick Sirianni as long as possible. And that means you get A.J. Brown as long as possible. And I know that I'm anti-mailbag. And you know that I am anti-mailbag. However, I will say, because I am solo, I am open to answering questions today. They don't have to be super chats. Just shoot them my way. Because otherwise, what am I going to do here? I have no idea. After A.J. Brown, we heard from Jordan Mailata. And he also began by shouting out Nick Sirianni and said that he has done a phenomenal job building the locker room culture. A little bit of a broken memory from Mailata, said that he referenced the flowers thing that Nick Sirianni had said, which he got so much guff for. But he said it was his second press conference. I don't believe that that's correct. I think it was in the middle of the season when he was talking about planting those flowers. Obviously, the team I think it was after the Raiders game. And they sprouted big time, but he shouted them out. Appreciate that. And then he said, "Oh, I mean, you want to talk about who's a teammate, like who has your back in crunch time? Who's a foxhole guy? You got Fran Duffy just popping in because he sees his friend flailing."
Come on. I mean, I can't leave you hanging here. I figured if you're going to try and hold the fact that you stooped so low as to say, I'm willing to do a mailbag. I knew that you were.
I didn't say mailbag. I said I would answer some questions. Oh, we got a friend. We got a Francis.
We got a double dip.
Great
here.
To see you, my friend.
Election day. Schools are closed.
Yes, we have that as well. Who'd you vote for, Francis?
Who are you voting for?
better left unsaid. What's he playing?
Pokemon.
Nice.
Pokemon Sword.
Okay. I like that.
All right. So how'd it go? How was it just being able to you guys talked with a bunch of players today, right?
Not a bunch. We talked to AJ, Mailata, and Jalen.
Okay.
I don't know if there was anybody else coming before Sirianni, but Zach is hanging around for Sirianni. So yeah. You know what? It's good to see where his allegiances lie. Not that we ever had any doubt, but
Look, if we had any hope to get Nick to come onto the show, he's got to make sure he meets him there as well. So that's I sympathize.
I guess that's fair. So I was talking about what AJ said.
Yep.
Nothing super crazy. Mailata was also, very much downplaying the tush push discourse. Said, our job doesn't really change either way. It's not and we can't control what players are allowed.
Right.
They'll let us know what we need to do. All that stuff. One thing that did occur to me is he was sort of trying to downplay the idea of a right guard competition, but more just from he didn't want to give anything away. But this is going to be a kind of classic training camp competition, I expect. Whether it's just Tyler Steen and Kenyon Green, or if there are other players involved. And you think back to Jordan Mailata's life has changed ever since he was in. He was in a real, true training camp competition with Andre Dillard to become the starting left tackle. And obviously he won. And ever since, he's become a multimillionaire, and he's on all of these shows. He's a pop culture figure. He's a Super Bowl champion. So much has changed. And so I wonder, it's not going to be the same thing for a right guard. A left tackle is a little bit different. But, if he has any reflections on that or advice for Tyler Steen and Kenyon Green as they approach what is a big deal this summer.
Sure. Oh, let me ask you this: I would be remiss if I didn't mention, as Zach always points out, that you were ahead of the curve when it came to the Tyler Steen, Mekhi Becton dynamic last summer.
Just I was ahead of the curve with Andre Dillard.
How are you looking at this group at that pairing right now? When you look at Tyler Steen and Kenyon Green versus the field, what's your gut tell you? Obviously, before we see the pads on with this group,
I don't feel as strongly as I did last year in either direction. I get the sense that they just don't love Tyler Steen in the building. I think Tyler Steen is going to get the first shot. Now, Kenyon Green was traded and discarded by the team that drafted him as a first-round pick for a reason. But I think the Eagles would love for a better option to present itself than Tyler Steen. That's sort of how I feel about it. How about you?
Yeah, I think that because I think what happens is when, and I get what you're saying in terms of the feelings toward Tyler Steen internally. I think that a lot of our viewers, a lot of the listeners, when they hear that, they think, oh, they hate Tyler Steen. I don't think that they hate Tyler Steen. I think that maybe you're saying, all right, not that you're saying, but what they want is, all right, we want him to kind of step up and kind of take over, that job. And I don't know that he's in that position to necessarily do that. I think that there are still plenty of people that do like Tyler Steen in that building, but ideally you have somebody that is able to come in and challenge him for that. I'm gonna be honest. I think I'm more excited. And I don't know if you got the sense when we did the film room, the film session, back earlier in the spring. I think I got more juice for Kenyon Green right now than I had for Mekhi Becton last year. I think
interesting.
Yeah, I think the flashes with Green based off of 2024 film to me had me a little bit more excited than what I saw from Becton in the previous year. So I'm fascinated to see what that looks like as we get into the summer.
And listen, that like Stoutland loves guys who have those like outlier physical tools, which Kenyon Green does. And if anybody is going to get the most out of him, it's going to be Jeff Stoutland. And so I think you could probably easily convince yourself that the ceiling is higher there. And so, yeah, I would, water gun to my toe, I would probably lean in that direction.
Yeah. That's going to be, that'll be one of the, I don't know, like 3 most interesting storylines as we get into training camp. I think you look at linebacker, you look at safety, and you look at that spot. I think those are the 3 headliners there.
And is there anybody else who you think is even worth considering there?
I don't think so. Yeah, I guess
because what I think you have is I do think that Tyler Steen gives you a baseline.
Yeah, right.
I think he gives you a fine floor, and there's maybe what the disappointment is that there is not a little bit more ceiling.
Right.
And so I don't think the guys behind him are going to give a better floor. Exactly. It's just that Kenyon Green might have a higher ceiling.
That's what, and I feel like a lot of people, when they hear our discussions about Tyler Steen, and not just today, but like over the course of the offseason, it's like, oh, like Tyler Steen's not going to make the team. It's like, no, like Tyler Steen's going to be on the 53. Maybe they trade him if they get an offer or that kind of deal, but like they're not going to cut Tyler Steen. It's a matter of like, all right, like, is he going to be like an ideal 5th starter, or do you want somebody to come in and give you a little bit more pop there? So that's. I think that's the right way to look at it. That's why I kind of view it as more of a 2-man race there, because I don't think Cameron Williams is going to come in and take Tyler Steen's job. I don't necessarily see that as the outcome here.
It is good to know, as Shield thumbs his nose at me and Zach abandons me, it's good to know that I have at least one friend.
One friend.
One friend. That's very right. The other thing Mailata said that was a little bit interesting, which is something that we know, but is worth at least mentioning, is, we talk about all of the different offensive coordinators that Jalen Hurts has had to deal with over the course of his Eagles career. Lane Johnson, having been the best right tackle in football for a decade, probably deserves a little bit of extra credit for all of the different right guards that he has had to work with. Now, some of those have been awesome players. So it's not like he gets a pat on the back for making it work with Brandon Brooks, but he has had to deal with a pretty consistent revolving door there.
No, it's a good point. And, I think that it's always been kind of interesting because you had Lane there for so long, you had Kelsey there for so long, but that was the rotating door between those two. And I think you plug somebody in there and you feel good about their chances of success. And obviously Juergens stepped right in and made a Pro Bowl in his first year as a starter as well, kind of keeping up that level of play. But I think that Lane absolutely deserves a level of credit there.
Okay. Then we get to Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Who everybody wanted to talk to, and there was a little bit of cleaning up some previous answers from Jalen Hurts, which was funny for the first first time we've talked to him this offseason. There have been so many times over the course of the past couple of years where there have been some kind of odd phrasings when asked about Nick Sirianni. He was very supportive as you would expect, but as he should be. And he said, congrats to him. And it is like the power dynamic is interesting because the way that Jalen's talking about it, he's talking about like the growth that he has seen from Nick Sirianni over the course of their time together. Like he's seen him evolve, which is, you would think that would be the way that the coach talks about the quarterback
right,
as opposed
exactly.
to vice versa. But it was a nice little check the box nod to Sirianni, which he doesn't always take the opportunity to do. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, just kind of seeing those quotes come across. I kind of got the subtext with that as well. I thought that was probably one of my bigger takeaways from what I saw from all the press conferences today.
The other thing he said, well, there are a couple of things. Now, you remember at Locker Room Cleanout, he did not give the world's most effusive endorsement of Kevin Patullo, even though he had been working with Kevin Patullo for a while. Tried to fix this one a little bit. Said Patullo's got a great mentality. He's been here with Nick the whole time. So, this is somebody who we've worked with together. But then he said, it's just people have different titles. So it's like, it's as if there isn't anything different that Patullo is doing. He's just got a different title. I don't think that that's exactly what he meant. But he said they're changing the offense just a little bit. The terminology is very similar, but a few little minor differences.
Which
and
correct me if I'm wrong. It was a year ago this week when he did the like 90% of the offense is different.
Yes, it was this time of the year.
Right.
Yes, and he referenced that.
Okay.
He said, "I know in the past I've given a number. I'm not going to do that today." So it is like he did like a little bit of a look back on his answers from the previous year and made he went to the film and made some adjustments. You appreciate that.
That's right.
Was asked about not going to the White House. He said, "I just I had something else going on that day. Didn't want to get into specifics, but he did say, the people who were able to go." They seem to enjoy themselves.
That's good. I did not see that.
It's very funny.
Nice.
I mean, because that he was waiting for that question. You know that he had figured out what he was going to say. They seem to enjoy themselves is perfect.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those things that will be fun to track and see if it's something that bleeds into the rest of the summer.
He's got there's a new I don't know if it's a saying or just an operating procedure, but decode, detect, and then correct. That's what you decode, detect, and then correct what it is that you need to refine. So there you go. Decode,
detect. See, like, I feel like you need to detect first, right?
I would agree with that.
You need to diagnose.
I would flip, yeah.
Then get to the problem, get to the root of the problem. That would be decode. Yes. I
agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you. It sounds good though.
Sure. Yeah, rolls off.
Yeah, the lamp is never full.
Right.
Okay. All right. Why don't we take a quick break? I believe that Zach is efforting to make his way to the show. And so as he runs like a young valet boy, let's tell you about our sponsors. Starting with Monarch Money. Finances, those pesky finances, they can be messy and confusing. Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you can stop earning and start growing. It's more than your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for your accounts, investments, and goals. Don't just manage your money, start building wealth with 50% off your first year for our listeners. The things that you can do at Monarch Money, it tracks your spending. It's in control of your finances. And we all want to save money for a myriad reasons. Best way to do it is with Monarch Money. Track your spending, savings, and investments effortlessly so you can focus on what matters most, making your biggest life goals a reality. Monarch Money was named one of Wall Street Journal's best budgeting apps in 2025, and it's the top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with over 330,000 five-star reviews. Financial stress is one of the top reasons relationships fall apart. Monarch makes money conversations easier. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code PHLY at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code PHLY.
We'll now hear from our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union because we know all about the HELOC. If you don't know about the HELOC, then you need to make sure you're tuned in right here, because if you're working from home, it's now time to stop calling plays from the couch, because with that TrueMark Financial HELOC Select, you can tap into your home's equity and finally upgrade that home office. You could build out a better space or just finish the projects that you've been putting off. So with that HELOC Select, you get a great low rate. You've got the flexible access, the ability to pull funds all at once or only when you need them. You've got lower rates than most personal loans and no penalties if you pay off early. All you have to do is visit truemark.com/PHLY to apply and turn your work from home game into a winning play. Terms and conditions apply. Visit truemark.com/HELOC for details. Federally insured by NCUA, equal opportunity lender. Make sure that we thank once again TrueMark Financial for helping to sponsor this episode.
Polar Jam with a super chat asks if Shield was at Novacare today and what was the vibe if he was. I don't believe that he was. And if he was, I would have ignored him anyway. And Joe says thoughts on Jalen. Did he talk about Nick? As we talked about, he did, go out of his way to talk up the head coach, even if it was in his own somewhat talking down way. But that's okay. It's baby steps. That's good. Yeah, we'll find out what Nick Sirianni said. I think Zach is on the way. Fred, what else is going on in your world?
Just watching college players. I watched Clemson quarterback.
Cade Klubnik today, huh?
I did Cade Klubnik today. Yeah. So now this afternoon doing some spreadsheet work. So just kind of like little bits and pieces here and there. But the draft guide, we are 11 players deep into the 2026 draft guide. So exciting stuff.
Where's Klubnik for you? Is he the worst quarterback you've watched yet, or
he is the worst?
So. Let's not say the worst. Let's say not the best.
He's not the best quarterback I've watched so far. I will say he was in my that too early mock draft that I did a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
he won't be in the mock draft in August. Yeah, I don't think he's that guy. He actually, who I wrote down as his pro comp.
Okay, let me think.
Former Eagles quarterback.
Kenny Pickett.
Oh, Francis beat a Jim. Good job. Former Eagles
Kenny
quarterback.
Pickett?
No.
A
little bit further back.
Okay. Trent Edwards.
I think a little bit more recent, but not. Yeah, a little more recent, but not that much more recent.
Mike Kafka.
More recent than Kafka. Philly Drone said Chase Daniel. I want to say this player was like the year after Chase Daniel, but we're in the right realm here. SEC quarterback, longtime starter at the college level, won a lot of games.
Tim Tebow?
No, he was a little bit undersized, underwhelming physical talent. Had some athleticism, but just left you wanting in the tangibles category. Aaron Murray from Georgia.
Aaron Murray. I totally forgot that he was with the Eagles.
Yeah.
I think that was the year I was gone.
I had a cup of tea with the Eagles. So, I didn't love
that. Is a savage player comp to put on a prospect.
I told you I'm 11 players deep. I feel so good about all 11 comps that I have given so far.
Really?
I was looking at the list earlier. I was like, yeah, these are really good comps. So I'm loving the process so far. Outside of that, Francis is off today, so we got Pokemon Sword in the background, and yeah, no, having fun. I was tuning into the show, and I was like, I saw you guys were running late, and I'm like, all right, we're coming over to the press conference, and as soon as I heard you say mailbag, I was like, no, I gotta jump in.
Thank you. That is a low place for me to stoop. I still can't get over how much you're burying a guy. You throw an Aaron Murray comp on a guy, that's like a body bag.
I gave all right. So without attaching names, I've thrown comps of Eric Gray, who the Giants selected in the fifth round, the running back out of Oklahoma a couple years ago. I threw an Eric Gray comp, a Dontavian Wicks comp. So I've got.
Now Tyler Zuley, who was producing the show today, wants to know he wants to know your Drew Aller comp, because I know that you have done Drew Aller. Let's play the guessing game again.
I do have a Drew Aller comp. Here's what I wrote down as my Aller comp. Shades of Sam Bradford.
Oh, interesting. He's a little bit more athletic, supposedly, right?
He's a little more athletic, but I'm not anticipating he's not going to be a world beater with his legs. The thing with Aller is I want to and it's kind of like with Bradford, who always got ridiculed for hey, push the envelope a little bit more. Don't just settle for the checkdowns. With Aller, that's what I kind of want to see more of. Is hey, I want to see him push the envelope a little bit more. And try things a little bit further downfield. Now, a lot of that could be tied to the lack of receiver talent and some of the issues they had with that offense. But I'm going to be honest, I struggled with that comp. And it was more there is a little bit of Bradford there. So that's where I kind of landed, but I could be moved off that one as well. Of the 11, that's the one I feel worst about.
Interesting. Okay. That's good. I can hear some movement next door to me up here at the top floor of the media house in the Novacare complex, some frantic door slamming and bag putting down. Wow. I can only imagine that means that Zach has returned.
It's not the mice.
It's not the mice. Although I'll tell you what, saw mice today outside my house.
Hmm.
We've got this like parking spot in the backyard, so it's
Okay.
like it's like to call it a backyard is
I know what you
too
mean.
much.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I saw it climbing up the brick wall, which that is disconcerting.
Yeah.
You don't want to see the mice going vertical.
I've seen them do that a couple times. It's it's a little unsettling. Yes.
It's really unsettling.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I mean, look, the only good thing about a mouse is that it's not a rat.
Well, that's true.
That's the only good thing about it.
Now, speaking of that, I do want to revisit the conversation. I've been meaning to do this for a while about Pikachu from the draft weekend.
Yeah, you changed your mind on it, and I don't understand why.
Well, listen, I have to, on a technicality, give it to the Pokemon as the Pikachu as a mouse thing, but it is a little bit, it's a little bit like hot dog is a sandwich. Like, even if that's technically correct, if I ask you to bring me a sandwich and you bring me a hot dog, you're just being an a-hole. Like you have not really done the job. If I ask you to show me a mouse and you show me Pikachu, well, if you're going to show me a Pokemon, why wouldn't you just show me Tantamouse? That's a mouse. That's what a mouse looks like. Like Pikachu is an electric. This is like it's a lightning struck mouse. That's not that. He doesn't present as a mouse. Where Tantamouse is the mouse.
Well, let's get a third opinion here. Francis, come here real quick. Come here real quick. Is Pikachu a mouse?
No.
Done.
Wow. You raised it well.
Yeah, I mean he's a mouse Pokemon. That's not a mouse.
Okay. I believe we have Mr. Berman, who has arrived.
There he is.
Great to see you guys. I was waiting to come on. It was such a dilemma. I was listening to the start of the show. Bo mentioned the dilemma in a very accurate way. I didn't know whether to leave, whether to come. When I saw that Fran was coming in, it made me feel so much better because I knew Bo wasn't doing it solo. But so much to discuss from today. It's great to be here.
Okay, Fran, you have done your job. You are free to leave if you would like.
See you guys. We'll talk later this week.
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you, Fran. It's nice to know who your friends are. All right, Zach. Well, you've chosen your side. You've made clear what your priority is. Tell us if it was worth thumbing your nose at the audience, your partner. Was Nick Sirianni's press conference worth it?
Well, so I was doing it for the audience, honestly. Was at the heart of everything I did there, was to be there for the audience so we can discuss what Nick Sirianni said in his first comments after signing a contract extension, a multi-year contract extension. Now, Nick Sirianni,
I think I reject that framing, but go ahead.
Well, just because you say, if you say the sky is orange, but it doesn't make it orange. The sky's blue.
But just to think about from the audience's perspective, either you can be there for the start of the show and then rewatch Nick Sirianni's press conference later, or you can go to Nick Sirianni's press conference, but there's no replacing you being here for the start of the show.
Sure, you can't. It's the central dilemma of my life during the past 2.5 years is that you can't be in two places at once. Or the past year and a half is you can't be in two places at once. But I knew how capable you are. Number one, I saw that Fran was coming on.
Well, that was not part of your initial formula.
No.
That was a lucky happenstance.
Anyways, it worked out swimmingly, and now I can come to the.
Let's do it.
I can come to the audience with substantive material. Being we are the first show talking about Nick Sirianni's press conference, right?
And Lord knows that is the most important thing. Yeah, gosh.
So Nick Sirianni is grateful. His family is grateful. He loves being a coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. He would not reveal how long the how long the contract is for. It was brought up to him that we know how long players' contracts are for. And he said, you don't really know how long coaches' contracts are for. So it's different. But he
And
doesn't
as I
want to
mentioned at the start, at the start, it was very funny that both AJ Brown and Jordan Mailata were also asking for contract details about Nick Sirianni.
Yeah. My guess is AJ Brown knows how long Nick Sirianni's contract is for. My guess is that
I don't know about that. He seemed genuinely curious about how long it is for.
Well, so let me ask you, because AJ Brown said that that Nick's here for as long as he is. Did you perceive that as like a Jimmy Chitwood? He stays, I stay. He goes, I go. Or I thought it was
No, I
like
didn't think it was an ultimatum, but I thought it was like just a nice thing
I
to
thought it was
say.
like
Like,
they're
I'm going to be here as long as you're going to be here. Like,
Oh,
let's do
so
this together.
I read that as AJ Brown signed through 2029. So he has 4 years left. He has 5. He's under contract 5 more years. So my guess is Nick Sirianni received a 4-year contract extension that gives him a 5-year term. This
Oh,
upcoming year,
interesting.
and
That's
then the
not how I
4
read
additional
that.
years. That's
You could
how
be
I
right.
interpret it, but I could be wrong too. Anyways, Nick spoke about a number of topics as far as you framed it well in terms of like the focus being on the season. But the way I framed the question to Nick was that he seems to be at his best sometimes when there's pressure, there's tension, there's discomfort, whatever term you want to use. And now that he won the Super Bowl and now that he has this contract extension, how do you manufacture that, right? Because I actually did think that the worst coaching job Nick Sirianni did was coming off that last Super Bowl when there was that comfort, right? And then you think of like some of these other times, it's when there's been this tension that he's responded to. And he said that he's spoken to a lot of coaches this offseason. And one of the coaches used an analogy, which is when you play pickup basketball and you win the game, you don't just pick up your stuff and leave the court. You strap it up and you play again, right? And he said like he's self-motivated. That's where it comes from. And that the thing that he's learned or that he's heard and learned is the mistake teams make is when they look too far in the past or too far in the future. In the past, it means they're trying to recapture something. In the future, it means they're trying to do something where they're not there yet. He's like, the focus needs to be right now, where they are now, building this up, which is a way of, what you expected Nick Sirianni's message to be. But that stood out. And I asked him which coaches he spoke to. Some of them were the usual suspects: Larry Karras, Don Staley, Jay Wright. But he also spoke to Nick Saban this offseason about this topic. So I thought that was interesting. And then there's a few others that I'll continue to kind of look into. He spoke about like how there's not validation for him, that there has to be about gratitude, right? Like he's not trying to prove anybody wrong. He's grateful for this. What was interesting was that he came back at the end of his press conference. He said that when he started, he was kind of thanking Jeffrey Lurie and all that. But he said that he's had so many players who've come up to him in the past, day, and he gives the same answer to all of them, that like, this can't happen without you. This can't happen without you. And he really wanted to make the point that he coaches like a great team, and it's what makes football great. Is it's a true team sport, and the greatness of you can't be great without the greatness of others. And like that was the message that he circled back wanting to convey. He spoke about, Kevin Patullo and kind of, the adjustments that the offense is making. He spoke about lessons from the Super Bowl year. He said there's a very fine line. Like he has to be cognizant of players' bodies, right? But also the daily work. And so that's kind of what he's navigating now. Is because you see the offseason program is not what it was last year, right? But they also went a month longer than they did last year. So there's a lot of communication with the training staff, with the medical staff about the buttons to push. And that's a point he wanted to convey as well.
The self-motivation thing is interesting to me because we talk about Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts not always seeing eye to eye necessarily. And obviously they have been able to overcome that. But it does feel like that is something that they have very much in common, right? Like the two of them need no extra motivation. I think the two of them are both always ready to get back to work.
Yes, but I also think the two of them, as self-motivated as they are, I think they both keep receipts, right? Like I think that they're not oblivious to what is said about them. Neither one, and so yeah, I do think there needs to be that self-motivation, but I don't think either one is like totally tunnel visioned regarding what's said about them. But they're very different people, but they are wired to try to get better. And I think that is, I think Jalen was very intentional with not wanting to talk about the Super Bowl, right? And Nick said that after the parade, like right away, he started thinking about next year. And he said that might be hard to believe, but he said that, Kellen Moore leaves and like he's doing that coaching search. Like he's able to kind of flip that switch right away because there was work to do. And Jalen made the point at the end of the season, and he made the point. He kind of made a reference to it today that he playing into February, right, and like catching up on time. There's a lot of that as well. So yeah, I do think that is something that they have in common.
All right. Let's take a quick break and hear on the other side what else we heard from Nick Sirianni, and I want to unpack your thoughts on what he said about Patullo. We have teamed with our good friends at Ashley Home Furniture to give one lucky winner the chance to bring home a beautiful, flexible, ultra comfortable home sectional. Plus, not just that, also a $1,000 gift card to bring your dream fan cave to life. The Mod Max sectional is spacious and built for the most diehard sports fan. Whether you're hosting movie night, kicking back with the fam, watching the PHLY Eagles podcast, or it's game day, the sectional is the upgrade your space needs. Entering is easy. Just head to allphly.com/Ashley to learn about the contest, see if you're eligible, fill out your info, and you're in the running. But don't wait. The sweepstakes won't last forever. Get your entry in now, and you could be watching the big game on a brand new Mod Max sectional, courtesy of Ashley. The Mod Max modular sectional by Ashley. Your choice of color, blue or gray, and configuration, up to 5 pieces, must reside within our local delivery area to qualify for the Fan Cave giveaway. Once again, visit allphly.com/Ashley for the full contest information and eligibility requirements. Terms and conditions apply.
If your hairline's been slipping and you're thinking about doing something about it, listen up. Hair transplants, they are not just cosmetic, they're real surgery. And if you're considering flying overseas to save a buck, why would you do that? Think again, because you don't have to go overseas. Just go to Bowel Kinwood. At Glatt Hair by Morgenstern Medical in Bowel Kinwood, you're getting care from board certified surgeons with over 30 years of experience. They follow strict US safety standards and deliver results that actually last. And here's the best part. You can text them a photo of your hair right now, and their team will take a look and they'll let you know what makes sense for you. No pressure, just expert insight. Skip the travel, skip the risk. Get real care from a trusted local team. Text your photo or call 610-980-4000 or visit glatthairmm.com. That's Glatt Hair by Morgenstern Medical. Let's get that hairline back in the game.
All right. So, what did Sirianni say about Kevin Patullo?
Yeah, so he spoke kind of about like the way they're evolving with Kevin Patullo and continuing to push things forward. That was kind of the main message with Patullo that he's seen from him this offseason.
Okay. Anything else then from Sirianni before I get your thoughts on what we heard earlier?
Listening through, no, there's just a lot of questions about the contract and about the gratitude and improving next year and figuring out like the adjustment of being with a new coordinator, and that's something that he's had to learn. But no, there's nothing concrete. It was more philosophical today.
Gotcha. Can the listeners, can they hear that we are next door to each other? Then there's like a bit of a lag. I wonder if they can hear you on my mic and everything like that. Like, can you hear this on Zach's?
Well, when you bang when you bang that, you can. Yeah, sure. I changed I changed seatings because of the lighting. I'm trying to figure out the correct light to use here. I'm usually where you are. I didn't get to set up the frame today because I was rushing down. So if the audience wants me to adjust here, is this better?
No, they say they can't hear each other. So
Yeah,
we're doing a good job.
we're doing
They
well.
said the lighting
Okay.
looks good, and I like the way that you were talking about banging a lot.
You like that, or the audience does?
It seems like the audience appreciates that. Yeah.
I don't get it, but okay.
Oh, okay. This is like a Jalen Hurts playing dumb. Like you pretend like you don't understand the question.
Are you calling
You
Jalen
don't
Hurts
know.
dumb?
You don't know what that. No, I said playing dumb. That's
Yes, I got you. Okay.
okay. Do you want to talk about what bang means?
What bang means? It's when you hit a surface. So what I just did is I
Sure.
banged the table. Yes.
I would have lost money there. I would have bet that you were going to make a Mike Breen reference.
Yeah, I always enjoy that.
Okay. All right. What I talked a little bit about my takeaways from AJ Brown, Jordan Mailata, and Jalen Hurts. But let's start with Jalen Hurts. What did you make of what we heard from the Super Bowl MVP?
Yeah, that nothing's changed with him. I mean,
I disagree with that on one point, which I haven't talked about. Two things actually. Yeah. One, I thought his arms looked extra toned today.
Okay. I didn't notice
since
that.
The last time I saw him. Okay. And it also looked like he was wearing more chains.
Okay. Okay. Maybe
that there was a new chain added to the repertoire.
Yeah. So coming from the off-season workouts as opposed to the practice field, maybe that's different.
Yeah, he's looking sharp.
Okay. I mean, it might have been a lifting day, right? You're a little more, swole after you lift than
as
some other days. You know what? I didn't go this morning. I was scheduled to.
There must have been a press conference somewhere.
One could only wish. No, I was on Anthony's show. I had to adjust my schedule. I had So, it was supposed to be at the 7:15 at 45 today, but it did not go.
But the 7:15, that was not when you were on Anthony's show.
No, but my 9 o'clock block had to change, so I had to move things up.
Oh, because you needed to do other work at 7:15 instead.
Yeah. I had to adjust from. Well, I was.
Why you're not working on a book anymore? What else were you going to do?
I was supposed to do between 9. I do have writing for PHLY.com and stuff of that nature. Yeah, there was an article that went up last night at 10 o'clock, and there will be.
Okay, that went up last night. Here. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and there might be an introduction and an epilogue for the book that needs to.
Okay, well that makes more sense.
Together.
That's better.
So,
okay.
So stuff like that. Yeah. So the schedule got adjusted a bit, but anyways.
This is the same as the show. I mean, you could have worked it around to fit that in. You could have chosen differently. You just made very clear what the lowest level of your priorities was.
I disagree with that. Anthony texted me last night saying, "Can you come on at 9:20?" I said, "Sure."
Right.
I had to make an adjust.
But you could have still done the workout.
I should. Yeah. Okay, you're correct. I could have still gone at 7:15 this morning. I'm sorry I didn't go to at 7:15.
Just like you could have done the show.
Yeah. It really bothers you that I stayed at I thought we had an agreement. You offered. You can't. You said, "Do you want me to?" Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was an absolute. That's like how I look at this dress. Like there's a right answer and a wrong answer. I'm giving you the answer, and I'm giving you the shovel, and you buried yourself. Now I also did offer. It was like if the thing is starting and it's going to be a little bit of time. Nick it wasn't anywhere even to be seen.
All right, I apologize. I apologize. I thought we wanted someone there for Nick. I thought it was important to be there for Nick.
It's okay. What did you think of Jalen? Any interesting answers to you?
So I thought the overall tenor of like not looking at last season, like moving on. I think that was very intentional from him. What'd you think of his White House answer? I know that was something
That
you
was
were eager to hear.
hilarious. They seem to enjoy themselves is such a funny line.
And I build upon that. Why do you say that?
Well, because it's extremely purposeful. He knew he was going to get this question,
Yes.
and he brushed aside why he wasn't there. But to say they seem to enjoy themselves is, that is very pointed and I think very funny.
Okay. Okay. And what else stood out to you about him?
Not much else. As I talked with Fran about, like the way that he talked about Sirianni, it was interesting that he doesn't always hit the softball when he's asked about Nick Sirianni, and he swung away this time. But it was also funny that he talked about him like the way that I have seen him grow.
Yeah.
Over the course of my time with him, it's like that power dynamic is still there.
Yeah, that I actually had that same interpretation. I was talking to someone about that before Nick, while you were on, when I was actually pulling up the show on my phone watching it, and we were talking about that. I thought it was interesting, and I followed up with Jalen. I appreciate him answering the question afterwards about it. He kind of slipped in there.
Yeah, say what you will. Jalen Hurts really likes Zach. I think that of everybody in the press conference room, he appreciates your questions the most.
It's nice of you to say, Bo. Thank you. I think Jalen. I think it's valuable. I don't mean to like be on a high horse here or anything. Just in general, like whether you're at a press conference, whether you're an interview on a show, whether you're having a conversation with someone, and admittedly, I don't always adhere to this sometimes when I'm preparing for an ad read, but like genuinely listen to what the person has to say and not just like prepare for what your next question is going to be or something you have to get in there. Cause there's things that people say where, and especially Jalen, like he'll put these little nuggets in, sometimes passive aggressively, sometimes intentionally. And it's like, all right, why did he say that? So he said at one point, there are a lot more, there are a lot more demands from me in the building. And which I was like, what's that about? That's interesting. Like what are they demanding of him in the building? That's different. And so I was trying to get that in there. And so then he stayed afterwards to answer it. And first he said it's about
standing up. And then he said he likes standing up better.
Yeah. So first he spoke about maturity, and he's like, part of this maturity process is like understanding the demands of of what's asked of him with different coaches, changes in coordinators, position coaches, things like that. And then he spoke too about some of the organizational endeavors that like the Eagles Autism Foundation, and then there's probably things that they ask of him in terms of like meet and greets and whatnot. That
was a little bit like that's what the money is for. You know what I mean? Like
yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But there's very much like, because look, the reality is this. There's a lot, you say that's the money, but there's a lot of things Jalen does on the side, which is like part of, what Jordan's money's for, or, that kind of thing. And so then there's times in his, he knows his name is valuable. He knows that his time is valuable. And so there's, and that's even more the case after winning Super Bowl MVP. And, as I was debriefing yesterday's show, I'm like, why did I say superstar with capital S? But I'll go back to that here. He's a superstar with a capital S now. There's like, that comes with it, is that, and so, yeah, there's probably times when Jalen's not thrilled with having to do X, Y, and Z. Like, you're asking me to do this again, or I have to do that again. And like, I always, I don't mean to conflate these two, but like players used to notice when Carson Wentz wasn't at something, when there was like a player had like a charity thing and Carson wasn't there, but they all came to his, that kind of thing, right?
Right.
And so and so there's something to that. And I do remember when Jalen first, I remember going, it was during the bye week. Jason Kelsey launched the Underdog Foundation, the Underdog Foundation,
Mhm.
or the Underdog brand, the Make Phil, it was part of his new foundation. And he had something on a Sunday afternoon that I went to, and Jalen came. That was Jalen's first year as a starter, and it was a big deal for Kelsey that Jalen came to that, right? And so, as a quarterback kind of develops a higher profile, you always wonder, how is he allocating his time, and does he make the time for his teammates? And there was conversations last year about Jalen making outreaches in the locker room, right, and different things he could do there. And so, the demands on the time, you put it well, that's what the money's for. It's part of being a franchise quarterback, but also, they're probably selective in what they ask of him.
Right. I think they probably have figured out how they want to handle those situations on that side as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
When he said that, my ears perked up as well. I was glad you asked the follow up, and I didn't know if he meant football wise.
Exactly. That's what I interpreted too. Does he have more to do with the scheme? It was very ambiguous, but I often think with Jalen, it's purposely ambiguous because he wants to play that game. It's like the woman who wants to be courted sometimes, right? He wants to play hard to get for you to try to get him. And so there's this has happened in a lot of Jalen press conferences where there's this little nugget that he puts in there, and he wants to come back to that nugget later. So I don't know if today was that thing, but that was.
Well, and you know what? You could tell because now part of this is because it was you.
Okay.
Okay. No, it was, but he was also he didn't. The press conference was over, and he sat there for a beat. I think waiting for somebody to maybe follow up on it or ask something else.
Yeah, because he said what he had, but there have been times after the press conference where, for instance, where he's entertained an additional question from me. But when he hasn't been happy with what that question is, he's just left, right?
Yeah.
And so I think this was something that he wanted to follow up on. Yeah.
True. There you go.
Look, this time of year.
How would you rank? Because people were talking about it on the side. I see. How would you rank where you think you rank among the reporters, how happy the person is to hear from you with Sirianni, Hurts, and Howie?
I don't know. It really depends on the nature of the press conference, the context, that kind of thing. I would probably say Howie's least. I'm gonna say, you know what? I like to think Jalen's most and Nick's in the middle.
I think so.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is I have the most history with Howie. I've known Howie for 15 years. But I think Howie is similar to Jalen in this sense, in that Howie's going to answer a question the way he wants to answer a question, right? It's not, Howie, it doesn't matter if it's person A, person B, person C. Howie's going to go up there and just say what he's going to answer the question that he wants to answer as opposed to the question that you ask him, right?
Sure.
And so and he's good at that, right? Nick is, sometimes you can ask Nick a great question, you feel like, and it doesn't deliver, and you ask a bad question and it's gold. So there's a lot more variability for Nick. It probably speaks to his personality. And Jalen, I think even Jalen is just I think you have to know what to ask him, how and when.
You have to be specific with Jalen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that maybe I'm getting softer in my old age, but this time of year, it doesn't have to be we're going to have times to talk to them about, different specific things. I like the tennis, the Chris Stapleton question, or the John Legend question this time of year. Like,
Yeah.
I want a little personality this time of year. Where after a training camp practice, we can get into like the nitty gritty of things. But like I was actually going to ask that Chris Stapleton won the Jordan Mailata, and so I'm happy that Tim asked that. So that part of it, yeah. Like, look, I get everyone has a job to do today. Like, Nick Sirianni's spoken about the tush push so many times, and Nick even
Well,
said,
I mean, it is. They're voting
it's
tomorrow.
scary.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like,
No, I understand it for guys who haven't like talked about it, but like,
yeah,
Nick would,
that's
yeah,
true.
Nick,
That's true.
yeah. Nick was like, it's pretty well documented how I feel about that.
Well,
Like,
I
they're
didn't.
gonna
Well, I
vote.
didn't hear the question, but you could ask him
Yeah.
about the language, like
Sure. Oh yeah. Okay.
has the
That's fair.
changed language affected how you feel
Yeah.
about it at all? But yeah,
That's fair. Or if he started thinking about contingencies, things like that, that's fair. But I liked AJ Brown on John Legend and
yeah.
Jordan Mailata on Chris Stapleton and
I
just
liked.
these human ones.
I also liked AJ's answer. Not to pat myself on the
Your
back.
horn. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Good
well,
answer to the question.
it was a good initial question from, I think, Bob, about how AJ had put out there that he felt himself a little bit wanting after the Super Bowl. It felt a little bit emptier. It was not what he expected, and that like he found that he just finds the love in the grind. And I will tell you what the follow up was in Zach.
Overtime.
And so I asked if that surprised him.
Great question.
That is what he was expecting, and he said, yeah, like all he had ever heard was you come into the NFL and like you win that Super Bowl, and that's what it's all about. And like you realize that's what all of it was worth. That it was all worth it, and it was all for this moment. And that's not how he felt at all. And he had to sort of think back, and it's really more about like the journey and the moments along the way, which I think is a nice sentiment in its own right. But it was interesting just to hear him. I mean, I love talking to AJ. AJ is an open book. He is so introspective and thoughtful. It was a good answer. I really like talking to AJ Brown.
Agree with you there. Was the open book intentional there? Was that a pun, an intentional pun?
It was not, but thank you for catching it.
Yeah, well done. That's why best host in the business. So yeah, I agree. AJ Brown's awesome, and he's in these media settings, and he's honest, and like he doesn't just like if he doesn't have a question to answer, he'll be like when he was asked about the offense, he's like, we haven't I don't know how it's going to look right now, right? Like they're still figuring that out. It was funny, the Olympics. He was like, yeah, it's during training camp, so I can't participate in it, right? I mean, he gives like honest, thoughtful answers. He could. That's true. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. He definitely has Nick's back. He has Patullo's back. That was pretty clear. I think one thing you're going to hear a lot from AJ during training camp is a lot of Jahan Dotson love. I think AJ is going to pound the Jahan Dotson beat, if you will, like pretty loudly. So I expect that to be the case. I thought Jordan was interesting on the rookie tackles. And
yeah, I didn't mention that. That was a good point.
Yeah, and how he's telling these guys like, come get my job, but I'm going to make it hard for you. Like they're obviously not going to get his job. But he's really impressed with them, like how they are in the room. And that's like the standard that was set for him.
But he also said he had to get on them last week.
Yes, exactly.
About not working hard enough. So there you go.
That's a good point. Yeah, so Jordan Mailata is similar too. I mean, Jordan Mailata, AJ Brown, two guys you love to hear from. Two guys who aren't afraid of their own voice, which I respect. And now let me ask you this. Do you think Jordan was just trying to be a smart aleck? I won't say the other term. Like when he was saying
yes,
competition. Okay. Or do you think like in his eyes that's Tyler Steen's job or something like that?
No, I don't think.
You think he was just trying to be a smart aleck? Yeah.
I think he was just Yeah, it was reflexive. What
Yeah.
competition?
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
But I said to Fran, I am curious. This is more of a training camp question for him.
Yeah.
But this is someone, Jordan Mailata, whose entire life changed because of a training camp competition. He was in a
Sure.
true one-on-one training camp competition. So what is his? What does he say to those guys? What is his? Reflection on that? It's a little bit different. It's left tackle versus right guard, and it's not the same thing. But he might have some perspective on that.
Good point. That's a great question. That I would love to hear his perspective on when you ask him in training camp. I thought it was interesting when he said Lane Johnson doesn't get enough credit, like for having to play next to all these right guards. And the reason I thought it was interesting is because there was a point in time here when that was the left guard, like the left tackle. There was a new left guard every year, right? And it was like Lane and Brandon Brooks. And Lane and Brandon Brooks were what Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson are now, where they had that synergy, and the left tackle had to play next to a different left guard every year. And so now it's kind of flipped in that Lane's playing against a different or playing with a different right guard every year. But he spoke about that. So I'm glad this was so beneficial about doing the pod after these press conferences. Is I thought for a moment when Jordan said that, I'm like, maybe he just thinks this is Tyler Steen's job, right? And that's how he views it. But if you had a different read on it, just like my read on the AJ Brown thing was that because I expected it to be a 5-year deal. Typically the Eagles give 5-year deals. So I expected it to be a 4-year extension. So he's under contract for 5 years. So he's effectively paid for 5 years. Right. And I think that's what the contract extension was for Doug back a few years ago. It was to keep him under contract for, so he had 5 years on his deal at that time. And so that's how I interpret it, just because AJ signed through 2029 season. And that would be 25, 26, 27, 29. But if it was more like just a show of support for Nick, then that's different. I thought he knew how many years Nick was under contract, and then he was just kind of testing to see if we knew. Jordan Mailata was like, how much money did he get? Yeah. I don't think the players know that, but I think the players know the years.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
AJ said, did you talk about John Legend? Maybe I'm making a bigger deal about this. I thought, like, how do you land John Legend for a proposal, right? That's
he's an Eagles fan. He went to Penn.
Yeah, exactly. Do you like John Legend?
I don't dislike John Legend.
Saw him perform live a few times, or not a few
really?
times, at charity events. Yeah, and he was a master with the guitar. Oh, I'm sorry, not the guitar, the piano, rather. Piano, sorry. The piano. Yeah, master at the piano. But yeah, I heard him. Well, I heard him not a few times at an event one time, and I was just like blown away by how good he was on the piano.
All right.
Yeah, no, it was not a concert.
Very important to say that this was not a concert.
No, it was a charity event that he sang at, or performed at, I should say.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Zach?
So I have some non-press conference questions for you, but
okay. What do you got?
Anything else jump out to you from the press conferences?
No.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we'll intersperse more throughout the week. I'll listen back to Nick. I'll have something up. So I'll say this: Emily watched the end. I asked her to watch the end of the show yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah, and she wanted to know if you were actually like legitimately mad at Shield. And I was like, I think, and she asked me, and I said, I think part of it is because Bo's a good performer, but I think also, I think he was a bit miffed. I think, but yeah. So I'm curious, how much of it was for show, and how much of it was actually miffed?
This is like in the middle of a wrestling event. You're like asking to break kayfabe. No, seriously, tell me. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm furious. I never want to talk to him again.
I haven't listened to Philly Special yet, but I saw on our Discord, or on a Discord, I think it was there's 2 different Discords that I read, that Shield spoke about this.
Discords that I read. There's two different Discords that you read. You're before the press conference starts today. You're accosting another media member because you have a bone to pick with what he said about Holland Pierce 2 days ago. You're reading everything. You got to cut something out.
Apparently, I should have gone to the gym this morning. I feel bad. I mean, that all goes when I talk about show prep. Part of it's reading everything. Brooks Cabina had a good story on Drew Makupa that I spoke to him about. Dave Zangaro had all the undrafted rookie contracts up on NBC Sports Philly that I was checking out. Jeff Nyberg wasn't here today. He had a good piece on KJ Henry that I was reading this morning. So yeah, I mean. This came up in a different context in a conversation over the weekend, but I only know how to do the story one way. Oh, I'm sorry. I only know how to do the job one way. And I can't, I wish there was, I wish I could do it with, I wish I could do it differently. It'd be better for my health and my time, but I don't know how to do it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. So I haven't listened. I'll listen to Philly special either on the way home or the way to work tomorrow.
I won't.
You won't. Okay. I'm curious because I'm curious if you've heard Shields' perspective on the story yet. No,
I don't need to know his perspective.
I don't need that. Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, I'm glad that I have Fran. It's good to have one friend.
I'm not a friend anymore because I went to the press conferences.
I mean, you made it clear where I stack.
All right, this has nothing to do with you. Number one, I thought you said, "Do you want to stay?" And I thought that meant and I said, "I don't want to leave you alone." You said you can make it work, or I can figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. So when you hear that, you're
thinking, if somebody dumps you, you're going to figure it out. You got to move on with your life. You want to know where you stand. Now I have my answer.
All right. So let's we're already in it. So let's just flesh this out. Would it have been more effective for me to miss the first 22 minutes of the show? Okay. Or I'm sorry, for me to do the first 22 minutes of the show, but miss Nick Sirianni's press conference.
I think you should have chosen the show, but that's okay.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, it's something. Look, this won't be the last time this happens. So then, if that's the case, I'll choose the show. I don't even think it was. I think I was choosing the show. There's choosing doing a good, just doing the show no matter what, or coming to the show, making the show better with information and perspective fresh from Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, we don't actually have to get into it. I think you are overstating the importance of a May Nick Sirianni press conference.
Okay, I think you're overstating the importance of the first 22 minutes of the show, but it's a reasonable thing to think about here. Also,
you should have just called in from Nick's press conference. Just held up the phone.
I mean, I've had these different ideas in the past that have gotten shot down, doing the shows at different times. No, airing the press conference on the show. No, so. I mean, at some point, it's my only option is just acquiescing. just do it, just satisfying you. But yeah, I thought I was enhancing the show by being there. I thought there was value in coming straight from the.
Well, we were the first show live afterwards. I mean, that counts for something.
Yeah, a matter of fact, someone was getting text during the press conference about something you said that they said, "Bo said something that's going viral," and I was like, "Oh God, what was it?" Yeah, it was about Howie's contract status.
Did I say anything today about Howie's contract status?
That's what someone said during the press conference. Someone said Bo said something about this. I
said something. We talked about it yesterday. I didn't say anything today.
You didn't say anything today? Okay, yeah. I'll say this, and I wrote this today on allphly.com. I interpreted from Jeffrey Lurie's comments at the owners' meetings that Howie Roseman had signed a contract extension. Jeffrey said that Howie's very secure. You know, he said we'll never talk about contracts, but his job's very secure. That's kind of how I interpreted it.
Yeah, no, but it would be weird, right, for the Eagles to have announced Sirianni's extension, but not Howie's, right? Unless it happened last offseason, they didn't want to make it awkward, right? Like,
yeah, it's a good point. Everything, like, they are. Look, I know that you know, them and us have different missions or different motives, however you want to frame it. I think this whole Nick contract thing's been weird. Like, I thought today, you know, someone was saying to me afterwards, like, your Super Bowl winning coach just won or just signed a contract extension, and like they like put a press conference in, you know, where they have to they have to rush you out because the rookies are meeting in the auditorium. There's like no pomp for it. You know, you would think that you sign this guy to a contract extension, they'd make a bigger deal about it. But it was like, it was almost like an inconvenient, like, oh yeah, fine. You know, we'll tell you that he signed it. We won't tell you how long. And he'll come here and he'll answer a few of these questions. It's like, that's
multi-years. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's so weird.
All right. I just see, I think Tyler needs to go. I apologize.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then let's wrap things up here on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Thank you to everybody for watching and listening. Thanks to Fran for saving the day. Thanks to Talia for making it happen. We're back tomorrow, 2:00, Thursday, 2:00, Friday, 2:00. You know the deal. And for all of us here, we thank you for watching. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.